All right. Hello, my name is Justin. I am the testing manager. Currently, this is summer of 2020. I'm going to show you guys how to do this flashpoint test here. So this flashpoint machine, what it does is test for the flashpoint in the biodiesel at the point of ignition. This is important. You want to keep it relatively high so you don't get any accidental combustions within the engine. And so what this will do is it will heat it up with a jacket down here slowly and stir it, and there's a temperature probe here that'll keep track of it. But you can see up top here there are these little nozzles here, and those will hold a flame and periodically stick the flame down inside the biodiesel as it heats up. And at the point of ignition, it will cancel the test and read that ignition point for you, and that will conclude the test run. Okay, cool. So to do this, you'll be taking this little guy out. He's got little notches here on the sides that lock into these little pins down here. And we will take this guy over to the hood. So here's the fume hood. Here I've already labeled two little beakers, one for acetone and toluene for cleaning when we're done, and one here for biodiesel, which we will transition from the bottle so we can work with it. So you can see on the inside here, there is a thin, kind of lighter ring inside, and that is the point at where you want the biodiesel to reach. So that's about 70 mils, and that's about what I'm going to aim for here, so we can just fill it up and not waste as much. You want that little meniscus getting over the line there. Cool. And so after you fill this up, you just take it back over to the machine. All right, so something important to take note of is try not to touch the outside of it and get oils over it. It will mess with the temperature results as it's heating up, and it wouldn't heat evenly, or you'll have complications like that. When you put it back in, remember you've still got the notches there, and they kind of lock into place like that. Next, you take this guy over here, lift him straight up. There's a temperature probe down there and a little propeller to mix it. Be careful, because these are the more fragile parts of the machines. This will sit on top, again, with the notches. And when you sit it down, you turn it clockwise to lock it into place, and then you'll feel a little click there. And so next, I will turn on the machine. It's about halfway up on the back left side, and you can hear the little stuff going. Hit enter. Okay, so here we've come to the screen. You've got sample ID, sample number, expected flash point, operator. The most important part here is expected flash point, and according to the SOP that we have, it's going to be 135. And you just hit enter. For operator, you go into here, so you hit other, there we go. And you choose the row this way, so my initials are JW. Hit that, hit insert, oh, hit enter, maybe, yeah, there we go. And then go over to W, and then enter. Exit, and you can see JW right there. Sample number and sample ID are going to correspond to the date. So today is 17 July, so what, 170620. Insert, sure, all right. So next you're gonna go over here to run start, and you'll start that, and you can see over here, the little devices will come up and start spinning the little propeller. Another thing to pay attention to is that there is a coil down here next to the main, that main shaft, and that will start to heat up. You can see it getting red there. And the point of that is that it's going to ignite your gas And so you've got the test light and you've got the pilot light. That little curved one back there is the pilot light. And so that's what you will use to ignite the flame that will be being put into the fuel. And so kind of the way you want it is that the pilot light is supposed to be about the size of your pinky nail. And the test light is going to be just large enough where you have a little bit of orange flame on top. And so you can see there I've got two separate flames, one entirely blue one and one little flame with a bit of orange on top. And at this point, you just kind of wait and manage the flame and wait for the jacket to heat up. It will start the testing process automatically. And it will open the top, stick the flame in, and then it will quickly close it, pull the flame back out, and reignite the test light. So when the test is finished, you'll come across this alarm here. To get rid of it, you just go over here to this alarm button, hit that in the bottom right here, go quit, and that should shut it off. And it'll start the cooling process, and this will just start dropping the jacket temperature. Don't start taking stuff apart and cleaning stuff until it reaches at least 55 degrees Celsius. At that point, you are free to start the cleaning process and take things apart and start disposing of the biodiesel. All right, so we finally dropped below 55. We're here at 50.3, and we'll start the cleaning process. To start, you're going to want to unlatch this, and so you'll turn it counterclockwise, give a little bit of oomph, and it'll come right out. Just pull it straight up, and you're going to stick it in a beaker and set it like that. And so we'll start by cleaning this little guy, and what we're going to be using is acetone and toluene to rinse it out under the hood. Okay, so you've got to remember you want to use the toluene first and the acetone. The reason for that is that the toluene will bind to the biodiesel and get it to come off the surface in here. And so you'll pour the biodiesel out here in the biodiesel beaker, and using this acetone and toluene waste beaker, you will flush out all of the biodiesel. And so what you're trying to get in the end is a bit of a matte finish. Just make sure there's nothing shiny on the inside when you're done with the acetone. So give that a couple rinses, and then we'll start over here. And the reason I'm getting the outside lip is because I managed to spill a little bit there when I was pouring the biodiesel out. Cool. And so acetone will dry fairly quickly, and so you'll know pretty soon whether you need to flush it again or not. You can just kind of use a Kim wipe to wipe away any excess. As you can kind of see, the inside is matte and not super shiny, but there are a few spots here on the outside that I didn't quite get with the first flush, and so I'll go ahead and get that again. And when you're done with this, you'll just bring it back over to the machine. Grab the acetone and toluene bottles when you go. And so this guy will latch back into here, just like that. Sit in there. Next, we rinse this guy. And so to do that, we will just lift it up again, toluene, then acetone, and just flush the thermometer and the little propeller. And you can move this. It's just attached mechanically, so you're not going to mess anything up if you turn the propeller physically. And another important thing is to get up under the top. And then you just leave it to dry for a little bit. To expedite the process of drying, again, you can go at it with the Kim wipes again. But again, you're looking for that matte finish on the metal when you're done. And so you can see the propellers don't have any shiny, greasy looking spots on them. And it's a little bit harder to tell on the temperature probe because it's glass, but the metal is a good indication. And when you're done, this will go back into this top cup up here. And you set that down, reach around the back on the left side, shut down the machine, and you have completed the flashpoint test. Okay, so the expected flash point for biodiesel is supposed to be 135 degrees Celsius. The machine here will test up to 30 degrees above for a maximum of 200 degrees. So the maximum temperature allowed to put into the machine is 170, just to ensure that it doesn't go over 200. So our biodiesel generally does not flash until after 165, and 165 is where the machine stops, and so that is the value we usually input. Anything below 165 usually indicates contamination of methane gas, or for instance, constants standards that we use for calibration earlier this week that flashed at, I believe, 178, and so that's the kind of like failure that you want, right, to ensure the calibration is correct. But in general, the machine does not usually flash because most of our results come up past 165, and that is indicative of a passing test. Another step after you're done cleaning is the disposal process. So we have red buckets over here. These guys are what we dispose of all of our waste inside of. And so what you'll do is you'll come over here to the fume hood, kind of collect all your acetone and toluene, and the biodiesel, it will all go into the same red bucket. But just make sure to track how much you have. So for this one, we have about 70 mils. And in acetone and toluene, that is sitting there roughly 60 mils. And so for acetone and toluene, we will assume a 50-50 mixture for when you log the red bucket totals. So just make a note here, so 60 and 70, and you'll go ahead and take these guys over to the red buckets. This hooked piece up here will latch to the handle, and you give it a fairly good push to open it like that, and just dump your samples in. And we'll do the same here with acetone. And so the red bucket total files will be found in Teams, and that's where we will be keeping track of all of the values we get from this.